We must stop the terror. Now watch this drive.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
Welcome to another episode. The shit show carries on. Everybody's partying. We don't know what the direction of the country is going, but we know it's not looking good. We got a new prime minister. Trudy took his chair out of office. Welcome to the Uncle Hack Podcast. Upcoming stand-up dates. March 15th this weekend, Selkirk, Manitoba, just outside of Winnipeg. That's right, we're finally entering the wonderful province of Manitoba. March 22nd in Brooks, Alberta. March 28th, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. March 29th in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. April 4th, Drayton Valley. April 11th, Maylag, Alberta. April 12th, Lloydminster. April 20th, Edmonton, Alberta, back at the comic strip. April 25th and 26th in St. John, New Brunswick. April 27th in Fredericton. Just added May 2nd in Barrhead, Alberta. May 3rd in Fort McMurray, Alberta. May 9th in Hanna, Alberta. May 10th in Medicine Hat, Alberta. May 23rd, just added, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax. June 6th and 7th, just your boy. That's right, Uncle Hack be headlining motherfucking show these days, Kelowna, British Columbia, June 6th and 7th. June 14th in Kindersley, Saskatchewan. Currently working on a new spot out in Saskatoon, boys. Might have a little drop on that since the last venue does not want, they said that this is outrageous what you're doing. This is outrageous, the comedy that you guys do. We can't have that in our venue. I'm related to Indigenous people, and you guys are racist. And like, oh, we just did a black nightclub in Hamilton, bro. Settle down. We're having a little goofball session here. Everyone's an advocate every now and then. It always pops up, and it's nauseating, you know? It's like, well, I know. It's like when the other end of that of like, well, I know somebody that's been affected, you know, like you use somebody else's past or history to like project how hurt you are from it. You know, like those people like, my grandpa fought in the war, so I deserve veterans assistance, you know? Everybody's got something. Everybody uses somebody else's story to like make themselves feel as if they're warranted of either the trials and tribulations or also I guess like the wins. Would it be the wins? The personal quest of one's journey, whether it's a negative or a positive outcome. We all look to use that. We like to use history to our advantage, don't we? I've noticed that since talking with people. It's like most folks don't endure anything really worth, like, have you had just a conversation with somebody in public, just talking with them, and you listen to what they say? Oh, yeah, we went down to the mall the other day, and I tell you what, shoe prices are going out of they're getting out of control. I tell you, I tried getting myself one of those bubble teas, like the slanty eye guys. I always see them. They got it. They look delicious. And I'm saying this in the perspective of somebody who's actually racist, unlike myself. People that go to the mall and they see maybe an ethnic minority having a traditional drink from their homelands, and they're like, oh, I like what that little Chinese guy has. Maybe I should try one of those people, some of those folks that will, what the hell is it called again? This is how unwoke I am. I don't know all the terminology where they're like, they'll use somebody else's, like, your fucking That's how bad I am. That's how bad I am. I don't know what the term is. When somebody uses somebody else's culture, like we'll dress up as it. Cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation? I don't think so. I'm trying to invite some of their culture into my life by having a bubble tea so I can relate with the Koreans. Enough. But you talk to these people out in the wild. A lot of folks just don't have much going on worth talking about, and they haven't done anything magnificent, worthy of bringing up in their lives, right? So you got to bring up, my grandfather fought in the World War II. You know, my great-grandmother, she starved to death on the plains of Saskatchewan trying to build this country. And then, like, I've noticed that honkies like to do this. If they have an Indigenous friend, they like to accumulate some of their pain and sorrow and scoop it into their pile and be like, my friend's Indigenous, you know. Like, and you should feel bad for me for being friends with that. Like, that seems to be another thing. But like, nobody's doing anything interesting we're talking about, or going and enduring this pain and suffering, or going through something worthy of sitting down and having a conversation about. So you gotta look in the past, because your future is grim. You have nothing in front of you. And I'm not saying anybody that listens to this podcast, you know, I'm not trying to single anybody out, but I've noticed that since talking with people a lot lately, is that we like, and that even comes with trying to book shows, is like, oh, well, you know that my grandfather, you know, he's friends with a native guy. So I can't have this show here. And it's like, well, we'll put natives on the Is there funny native comics? Let them be a part of the show. Are they funny? That's really what I care about. You know, I'm not trying to get into this like race juggling to appease people. It's just like, are they funny? That's it. That's all I really care about. Is it like, are they funny? And even then, it's like, well, I don't know if I'm edgy enough for your show. And it's like, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about whether or not you can make people laugh. You know, I want to have a good show. So if you want to be a part of it, like, just come and make people laugh. Another thing I noticed too on the weekend is like, we were just in Ottawa and Cornwall, 2 great shows. Sam terrified these poor people out in Cornwall. Terrified them. Headlined my first weekend, which was quite a feat. Giving myself a pat on the back. You know, we did it. 5 years in the game. It was my 5-year anniversary of stand-up comedy on the weekend. So that was also another nice celebration to go and headline the shows this weekend. So with that, you know, Sam terrified the poor people of Cornwall and then had a rockin' show there in Ottawa. But one thing I noticed in Ottawa, I went for a little stroll through the city center mall there, try and hunt down some snacks. And some of the most least intimidating men I've ever seen in my life. You know, typically when I'm walking around somewhere in like a general public area, there are some, you know, there's some folks that you scan, right? Everybody scans. That's the era that we live in now. Is like, you have to scan. Public safety is at an all-time low. There are things to be worried about, but like when it comes to the general public, and I'm not including crackheads. Even, you know what? I will even say this: the crackheads there are the least intimidating. I have never been less intimidated by fentanyl addicts and opioid addicts on the street in my life. The one, I'm walking into the city center, he was so kind, he was opening the door for people. He was holding the door for folks as they were coming in and out of the mall. And I'm looking and be like, shouldn't you be like holding a used syringe to my throat and taking whatever money I have left in my wallet to scrounge up your next fix? But instead, you're doing something polite, which has me confused out there. Is everybody so passive out in Ottawa that they just allow themselves to exist in this mind that everything's going to be A-okay? The old head in the sand. No wonder they had a fucking meltdown when the truckers came, because there was somebody that actually gave a fuck, apart from a Free Palestine protest that you got to pretend to care about. You know, like everybody pretended to care about. Now they're kind of dissipating because we got bigger issues. You know, funny how that works. It's like all you needed was a new issue, and right now the the crosshairs have been pointed to America. So this whole free Palestine has been pushed to the wayside, and nobody's going to. I think maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but I hear less of it. And now folks are they're either protesting Mark Carney, or they're out protesting Pierre Poilievre. But there's some messaging in both protests that is kind of like anti-American in a way, and like. I think the right is trying to use this. They're trying to use this manufactured patriotism to like spark maybe more people to shift over to a right-leaning ideology or thought pattern. And I don't know if it's quite working yet, but now you have. Now we're looking at a new liberal leader. We got Mark Carney, and a lot of things are coming out of the woodworks. He's been, kind of tight with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's photos circulating around with him and Ghislaine and Mark on a beach somewhere. And then I believe there's photos of him with Jeffrey Epstein now. Now, that's never good. We don't like that. So now both leaders in North America have been photographed with Jeffrey Epstein. And Donald Trump's are probably worse, If I'm going to be a Canadian, I have to take a step back and ignore the fact that there is a potential chance that the previous and current prime ministers of Canada could have been pedophiles. I have to do it. I have to ignore the fact that Donald Trump, I have to ignore the fact, that our prime ministers have been photographed with these degenerates that fly to an island and do very nefarious things to children. And I have to ignore that because the president of the United States has a photograph with the same individuals. Okay? And that's more important, especially now. Like, see, if the Canadian government, like, if Doug Ford was smart, he would turn the power off to his constituents and citizens of Ontario, so that that way they're unable to research into these characters of the federal and provincial government over there. If I am the Premier of Ontario, I'm not turning off the power to America. I'm turning it off to the Canadians. So that way they can be a little more appreciative of what I do for them. Not trying to make the Americans mad. They got more guns than we know what to do with. In fact, they've got more guns than we can ban, if I'm being honest. So if I'm Doug Ford, I'm turning off the power to Ontarians, if that's what they're called. I'm snipping the power off to my own people so they can stop researching all the nefarious things I've done while being a sitting premier of the province of Ontario. That's what I'm doing. You think I give a shit what's going down in Minnesota? Those fake Canadians? Minnesota is just like, get your own style, first off. The Midwest, you people sicken me. You people, as a Canadian, I look at you and I scoff. Get your own personality, why don't you? Why don't you drum up a creative thought and come up with some form of personality instead of being fake Canadians? That's what you are. You're fake Canadians. Oh, sorry there, bud. Get out of here. Get your own accent, first off. Who do you think you are? I know we're close, okay? I know we're a hop, skip away from one another, but there's a clear distinction with a line that was drawn hundreds of years ago that clearly states you and I are different, okay? So get your own aesthetic. Get your own style. Get your own feng shui, as they say. Anyways, moving on. But yeah, if I'm Doug Ford, That's what I'm doing. I'm cracking down on my own people. I'm censoring the internet. I'm cutting news. I'm cutting the power. I'm raising the cost of natural gas to heat your home. I'm making groceries more expensive. So that way you have oh, wait, that's happening already? Whoever the writer is of the show needs to update what we're going to talk about. That these things are already taking. They already can. They've blocked the news on social media here. You're telling me that the price of groceries is going up, the cost of living is going up. It's like when Dr. Evil found out that $1 million isn't a lot of money anymore. $1 million. Unbelievable. World news. Air India. This is great. Air India. We've got something to talk about. Air India flight from Chicago to New Delhi returns hours into journey after rags, clothes, and plastic bags clogged toilets. Yeah, okay. Yeah, way to rewrite the... They clogged the toilets. An Air India flight from Chicago to New Delhi last Wednesday was forced to turn around several hours into his journey after multiple bathrooms on the plane were clogged with rags, clothes, and plastic bags, according to the airline. The flight, Air India AI-126, was 5 hours into his journey when it was forced to turn around, according to the flight tracking website FlightAware. Crew were noticed that some of the toilets were out of order an hour and 45 minutes into the flight. They later on determined that 8 of the 12 lavatories were unserviceable, causing discomfort to all on board. Oh my God. The scent of that flight is already horrendous enough. Am I right, folks? Imagine. You know what? The innovation of the Indian man and how far they've come is quite remarkable. Instead of shitting all over the beaches of Wasaga, they are now taking it to the skies by clogging up bathrooms at 30,000 feet in the air. You know, people, you sit back and you say to yourself, will they ever prevail as a culture? Will they ever just, will they ever come together and unite and force themselves into the ascension of people? I don't know where I'm going. I'm trying to sound smart while saying some shit, but the situation unfolded as the plane, a Boeing 777-300ER, was over the Atlantic, but because of the restrictions on nightly operations at European airports, a decision was made to return. Imagine that. Imagine that. Do you think that they fly the same way they travel on rail? You think it's just like they open up the cabin door and everybody just fucking... There's just East Indian dudes sitting on the nose of the plane. Some of them are sleeping on top of it. Have you seen a train in India? It blows my mind how they don't have more deaths. I have no idea how some, like, and I'm not about to sit here and we have all seen it, but it blows my mind how they survive. I don't want to say survive or thrive, sorry, but they survive as a culture. You know, there are smart Indians. I'll give it that. There are some out there. I'm trying to be polite here, folks. But you see some of the things that take place in that country and you think to yourself, how, you know what, like you have to fuck like rabbits like they do and have 1 billion people, or else that whole race of human is eradicated just due to, you know, the industrial revolution, essentially, is just these machines that I don't think many of them know how to operate are now taking them like something as simple as a train. You'd think like, oh, there's only X amount of seats. I'll wait for the net. No, they pack those things and they're like on top of one another, sweating all over. It's like, it's just a bacteria fucking breeding ground. And I think they just piss themselves too. How do you explain to somebody that, like, hey, maybe don't shove clothes down the shitter on an airplane? How do you explain that to somebody? Like, I thought that, in my world, my existence, my story, I look at a toilet and my mom would have beat me to you remember when you were a kid, you flushed something down the toilet and your mom or father scolded you or possibly beat you for doing such a thing? I didn't think we had to do that with adults. But here I sit before you baffled that we have to. We have to scold individuals who are grown. How? How is this a thing? Like some stuff annoys me when I read it. The spokesperson, oh my God, here we go. This is what the spokesperson noticed, that this wasn't the first time foreign objects were found on Air India toilets. Blankets, innerwear, diapers among the waste have been flushed down toilets on other flights. I will say this: I had traveled from South Korea to, where was it? Taipei? Was it Taipei to somewhere? And I had a crossover or a layover flight. And the flight that I was on was predominantly Indian people. And the airline had to, they then got a stewardess to stand there and spray the toilet with cologne. So then you're like, the cologne and the smell of fecal matter is just throughout the whole place. It was the most miserable flight I could not imagine what that smelled like. Air India, even their airlines are atrocious. It's bad out there, folks. It's bad. And I know, like, me talking about this would get labeled as racism, but it just, some things write themselves and we got to just acknowledge it. This is humor. This is comedy. Just in real life, the reality is the funniest fucking thing right now. And you can't deny it, because you have to scold people like me who find this article right here funny, or else, the truth is the funniest thing, and we try to deny the truth. That's how we end up with someone like Dylan Mulvaney writing a book celebrating. This is how absurd the world is that a boy turned into a girl and now writes a book promoting being a girl on International Women's Day, and women celebrate it, even though, you know what I mean? It's all confusion. Reality is not present anymore. We ignore it. We just allow this nonsense and fiction to take over our minds, and we just blindly agree with whatever they promote down our throats. And that's a good idea because we're docile. A lot of us don't like confrontation, and those that do speak out are scolded. You're pushed to the corners of society. You're banned off the internet for speaking out loud. Some folks claim that they don't want to be associated with you no more because you're an accelerationist, a fucking ist or ick because of these thoughts. But meanwhile, you can be whatever you want now. And that's the beauty of 2025 living in a first world country, is that you as an individual can just become whatever it is you feel like. You can just invent something in your head, and if you say it enough, people will believe it. And that's how you end up with a scenario like Dylan Mulvaney celebrating International Women's Day by promoting a book about being a woman. Let's take a look here, folks. Let's take a little dive into this. And I don't think...
Laugh at me, but maybe we should be Is this a good time?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, this is the best day of my life. Happy International Women's Day.
Nice guys to have fun with. Wow. That sounds like
Jill was my prop master in the Book of Mormon, and I just started crying because I was so happy to see her. I love you.
Wow.
Don't laugh at me, but
This is like, oh, he's with that Drew Affalo.
Is this a good time?
I've never quite understood the fascination with this because I couldn't, like, I'm not buying it. This looks like, you know, those scrawny kids that were really into coding when you were in high school? Like, it just like, this is drama class at its highest level, and I don't, like, there's nothing feminine about the body type. There's even like these little, like, they're trying to get some like A-cup titties going on, but there's like the hands. There's like still a masculine look to the hands. And no matter how hard we try, we cannot deny it. You know, that's like, you see that and you know, like, you're being lied to. And that's what I mean. Like, the reality of this is hilarious. It's like, it's comical that you can just make this up and people will celebrate it. You can make up whatever you want, folks. There is no limit to your imagination. And this is the motivational part, is if some twink can decide that, you know, after years and years of acting on a stage and going nowhere, and it's time that we break through and we become a superstar. I can only, you know, perform the Book of Mormon so many goddamn times before it becomes nauseating and I want to shove a pistol in my mouth, but I cannot muster the strength to pull the trigger. You gotta find something else. And that's why I'm here to motivate you. Are you tired of living the life that you are? Listen, if this guy right here can get up off of his ass and convince the world that he's a woman, you should be able to convince your wife that you should be able to fuck a hooker once a month. And that's the motivation that you're lacking in your life, okay? Dylan Mulvaney woke up one day and said, I'm a woman now. I'm a woman now, and I'm going to be the best goddamn woman North America has ever seen, despite all the trials and tribulations and tanking a liquor company damn near into bankruptcy because so many people were against it. And even they bounced back by hiring, you know, men again to put them in funny beer commercials. So that way we go and purchase Bud Light, but he almost killed them. He almost killed them. And now he's pretending to be a woman on the world stage. He wrote a goddamn book about it too. And people are purchasing it. And you're telling me you don't have the motivation to get up in the morning and change a little bit and go after your dreams? Hell, they don't even have to be your dreams. You twisted son of a bitch. It doesn't even need to be a dream. It could be made up. You could tell yourself you're going to be a NASCAR driver and you just lie to everybody and you say that you drove NASCAR, and for a short while of time, they're going to believe you. Because if you make up a story good enough, if you make up a fairy tale so good, it's almost, you know, you have to question it. And then you make people feel guilty for asking questions about your past. Well, boo fucking who on them. Tricks on them. I'm a NASCAR driver. You wake up and you tell the world that you are a NASCAR driver. And you go get those beer deals. You go get the book deal. You write about something that you know jack all about. And make millions and millions of dollars because nobody has the balls to tell you to go pound sand. Everyone is capable of it. This is the time to do it. The economy is crippling. The window to become a millionaire off of bullshit and lies is closing in. It's closing in. We are headed into what I think is going to be an economic downfall of the first world. So your time, the sand is slowly sifting to the other end of the, I don't know what those things are called. You know what I mean? The days of our lives thing. I don't know. The sand fucking thing. The sand timer. This motivational speech that I'm giving you is not meant for, it's not meant to have the correct verbiage, but it's more so meant for you to get up off your ass and lie. Lie through your teeth. Get what you want. Put the most minimal effort into whatever it is you wish to achieve and get your money while you can. Look at the Costco guys. You think that's a sustainable future? No. But they lie to themselves and they tell themselves that every fucking day that it's worth it, that they are worth it. They will succeed by eating a giant fucking cookie and a cheese baked chicken wrap or whatever the fuck. That's same with this. Some fucking twink woke up one day and said to himself, I am a woman now. And what did he do? He went all in, recorded every day and just told the internet over and over and over and over and over again that he is a woman. And some people believed it. Some people are against it. Some people went out, bought Bud Light cans and shot him with an AR-15 because they stood against it in defiance against transgenderism. Who cares? What my point is, folks, is that you are capable of lying through your teeth and getting what you want. And you aren't doing enough to get what you want. Lie, cheat, steal. It does not matter. Morals are out the window. The truth is non-existent. Reality is a joke in itself. I mean, Christ almighty, Air India was forced to turn around because the shitters were clogged. This episode is meant to display that reality is comedy, and that's all that it is. It's all a big facade. Laugh at it. Enjoy your meaningless life on this floating rock. Lie through your teeth. Nothing's going to change. The powers that be have too much money, and I applaud somebody like Dylan Mulvaney, to be honest. I want to get in on the action. I want a book deal. I want to write about things I know jack shit about and make $1 billion, and I kick my feet up while the internet goes into a frenzy. I want lots and lots of money so I can just disregard anyone's opinion because I am filthy rich. That's the goal. What are we talking about? Morals. What are we talking about being a decent human being? When's the last time you bumped into a decent human being? Christ almighty, everybody's walking around with syphilis, cheating on their wives. We're all fucking guilty here. Who has an honest marriage? Let's be right. Who has an honest marriage? Don't lie to me. Right now, 4 of you are sitting in a pickup truck looking at one another and nodding like, yeah, you know what? I would take a hand job from an Asian hooker right now at a discounted price. Even if she has calluses on her fucking hands, that means that bitch knows how to work hard. And I respect that. And any man that can't fucking handle a little callus on the cock, well, guess what? You're in for a treat. It'll finally knock the warts off. It's like having sandpaper in there. It'll get it off. You'll go in with you know when your wife goes in and gets one of those face peels and they're like, oh, my face is all shiny. I feel great. And they just pour acid on it. That's the equivalent to getting a hand job with calluses on the Asian hooker's hand. You know, some old bird that just pokes her hand in through the curtain. You don't even see her face, but she just strokes you off and you've never felt a grip like that. You think she's a pole vaulter, for Christ's sakes. That's what I mean. Reality is a lie. Enjoy it. In fact, add to the lie. Benefit off of it. There's no better time that you can just make shit up and make $1 million fucking dollars off of it. You can get famous. If that's all you're after, you just want to be famous, no problem. A guy 3 years ago rode a skateboard drinking fucking cranberry juice to a Fleetwood Mac song and we turned him into an international superstar. For what? For riding a skate. We were like, the vibes though. And now that guy's walking around scratching his head like, what happened? How was I unable to turn that into anything? You know? Excuse me for once. I'm just stepping out of frame. We're just grabbing something to sip on. But that poor guy now, I think they gave him a truck that he can't make payments on. I think that's what he ended up with. All lies. That's what I mean. It's all made up horse shit. Even this article. They're going. Let's take a look at Dylan Mulvaney's article together. Excuse me. Happy International. Trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney's International Women's Day post sparks heated backlash. One of the best days of my life, she captioned. I love meeting all you and can't wait to see more of you on my book tour. I'm so thankful for the women that surround me and especially Drew Affalo. Okay, this is but as far as the video, this piece of shit with a penis, Dylan Mulvaney has the audacity to celebrate International Women's Day by promoting his new book about how to be a girl. Ex-user Sarah Rose Wright. How in the fuck would he know? She asked rhetorically. These people are mentally insane. I don't disagree with that. You know, like happy International Women's Day. It is. This is what I'm saying. It's all made up. It's hodgepodge bullshit. We just scoop it all into a pile. America needs this. North America needs this to distract you from the actual fraud that's taking place in these monumental buildings that bureaucrats gather to figure out how to siphon your money into their pockets by NGOs, fucking bonds, war bonds. How can we start up a new war? You know, but this is our concern, is that some guy is walking around with a cock between his legs pretending to be a woman making a lot of goddamn money. Then that's okay. You can be mad at this, but get in on the action. Wear a miniskirt and say you're a woman for a day. You might make a fucking $1 million. Dylan Mulvaney mocking International Women's Day with his girl book is peak delusion. Oh, they're coming at him. I get it. His entire personality is basically a mocking of females. They're just reposting all this. All right, see this paper doll. Notes from a late bloomer. Okay, let's get more in it. Mulvaney gained notoriety through her Days of Girlhood TikTok series in 2022. So 3 years. 3 years. Millionaire. She then sparked what researchers at Harvard Business School called one of the biggest boycotts in American history. Part of economic history in America when she partnered, look at me, I'm progressive. She, Kid Rock posting videos of him shooting Bud Light like a fucking Anheuser-Busch lost more than $1 billion. Wow. Insane. And what have you done? Lost $20 in a VLT machine at a rundown motel? In a VLT lounge at a Boston Pizza? Huh? You lost $20? This broad lost one of the longest running alcohol companies, $1 billion in sales. Bud Light. It is hilarious watching these. When all else fails, what do you have left? Is to change your gender and make some fucking money. But that's not all the problems we're seeing in this great nation. Now let's head it back to Canada, one of my favorite places to talk about. And many things are taking place inside the nation. You know, politically we're divided once again. And the division, I think, stems from this pseudo-patriotic movement that has now sparked a lot of, I guess, people on the left and right. I'm seeing it. But those that can see right through it are just like shaking their heads and being like, this is COVID 2.0. And I agree with that because for this reason is that It's just a facade to distract you from the true problems that are taking place. We are seeing the bureaucrats, the ruling class now really push this idea that we got to band together. We've already believed that this is a uniparty, right? Doug Ford just got his ass back in and won the election with, like, I think one of the lowest voter turnouts in quite some time. A lot of people aren't heading to the polls anymore. Why? I don't know, but it was a shoe-in for Mr. Ford to now win another election for premiership in Ontario. Many folks upset about it, but we're seeing Doug fight back. You know, people are agreeing with Andrew Scheer right now, and Jason Kenney on X about a lot of issues. You know, we have, again, like this rise of false patriotism that is cloaked in this hatred for America, because we have a difficulty looking at the bullshit in our own backyard. We want to point to the United States and blame everything because of the wrongdoings in this country on them. And now we have the Liberal leadership is over. You have Mark Carney in. I know, like, folks are like, well, how do you fucking get a premier? Well, that's how they stack the cards. It was perfectly legal on how they did it. Is it wrong? Is it right? That's up for debate. You know, Trudeau's was polling at an all-time low. So what are you going to do? You're going to run him? You have an election coming up in October, no matter what. The Conservatives have dropped like 33 points in the polls. How that happens, it's easy to fucking understand how that happens, is Pierre's whole platform was him banking on Trudeau calling an election. He was trying to pressure, what's his name? Jagmeet into sparking a non-confidence and taking it to the polls to see what Canadians want. That did not happen. The Liberals then went to the drawing board. They prorogue Parliament, so we haven't even had any debates taking place. Meanwhile, all this nonsense is happening, like tariffs. You have a leadership race for the Liberal Party, and Mark Carney now steps in. So it's a mess. It's a fucking mess. And to keep you distracted with that is like, now we're like, we gotta go and buy Canadian orange juice so you can feel good. You gotta buy Canadian orange. And we're finally gonna fucking start talking about, hey, everybody get along. But then you have Quebec, who's still like, we are not going to put a pipeline through our province. Bon oui, Jean-Claude, bon oui. They don't want to do that. So now we can't get our natural resources to market in international markets, which causes, even more debate within the nation. But hey, don't worry, we're Canadian as much as you. We don't like a Donald Trump. Bon oui. So now everybody's running around with like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to figure out where do we go from here. And I tell you what, right now, trying to get into again, we have this false idea in our head. It's like these morons that go on TikTok. It's like, in the beginning of the episode, how we were talking about, we look at history within our own families and we like to attribute that to their successes in life to us because we're somehow because you're blood related, you possess the same, I don't want to say resistance, but you have this same, I guess it would be motivation as they had, like your grandfather was 16 years old picking up a gun to go shoot Nazis in the head. Meanwhile, you can't put down a cigarette to take the trash out for your wife. I know that's a tremendous difference, is like one is threatening your freedom, but even like, look at how many people just like were cucks during lockdowns after 2 years of them just lying to your face over and over and over again. How many people just keeled over and let them get repetitively kicked in the nuts and never did jack shit about it. And those that did just get up off their couch, all they had to do was bring bouncy castles and have chili cook-offs outside of Parliament Hill. And that was enough to cause such a massive disruption in all of Canada. Be like, they're fucking racist. And had like people's minds exploding over this all over because people were having like a block party and honking horns and be like, oh, I can't handle the honking. You know, and these are the same people now that somehow think that they're going to pick up a rifle and defend this nation against fucking the United States of America, who I may add is like the number one superpower when it comes to military, like when it comes down to even military spending, their military spending alone. What the fuck are you going to do? Our government is banning all the guns. What are you going to do? Throw eggs like you did at the truckers? You'll wear a bullet between the eyes. Enough with this. Enough with acting like you're going to walk down to Washington, D.C. and light the White House on fire again. And the British did it, by the way. It wasn't Canadians. We weren't Canada in 1812. Unfortunately, it was the Brits that did it. So stop acting, Stop acting like you're a part of this great history. We're going to bring on the Americans. I see these idiots making TikToks and being like, yeah, I will defend this country until my bitter end. I don't give a fuck. The Americans want to come up here and take this bitch over. Fine, have it. Good, great, grand. I ain't picking up a fucking gun. I'm not picking up a gun for a government that taxes me as much as they do. I'm not picking up a gun that a government won't allow me to share news. This is what I'm defending. Give your guys' heads a shake. That's what I'm defending. I know that's like such a cock way of going about it, but I'm not standing shoulder to shoulder with somebody who's like fucking, like, oh, I'm Canadian now. No, you're not. Enough. Let's stop acting like we're tough all of a sudden. Let's stop acting. In fact, you know what? This is what teenagers are arming themselves with. Okay, to defend themselves in Kelowna. I just seen this article. It was shared on X, and I found this quite interesting because the same people who are parading around this idea that somehow, some way, that we as a nation could defend ourselves against the United States of America are scared of teenagers who are walking around with bare mace, brass knuckles, and fake guns because they're unable to get their hands on real guns. Even the criminals in this country are walking around with dollar store toys to beat each other up with, okay? They have gas station weaponry. That's what they have. And you, as a Canadian citizen, and I can only imagine if you're the one that's on TikTok parading around the idea that you are going to go to war with America and you're just fucking, yeah, bring it on. Some of you probably have no weapons at all. The most that you could drum up if push came to shove and they were like, the Germans, the Americans are coming. The best you're going to have is a kitchen knife. A kitchen knife and a rolling pin. Like your housewife that just caught their husband cheating on somebody. You're going to come and clunk him on the head? Is that what we're going to do? You're going to watch a Looney Tunes lump grow out of his skull with birds and stars around his fucking head? Christ almighty. ISIS was more prepared for a war with the United States of America. And these are fucking guys that screw goats and live in a mountain. We have irrigation. We have plumbing in our walls. These are guys that shot rockets out of a fucking cave. And you expect me to believe that a bunch of fat fucks, because like the big thing is like another thing is like, hey, in World War II, the Canadians, excuse me, my rant was rudely interrupted by this operating system. But yes, no, I find it absurd that a bunch of Canadians think that they are going to then repeat history, right? I've seen these videos of these goons flashing around their Campbell soup cans because there was a story that came from World War II is that they would starve the Nazis and the Nazis were starved in these trenches, so they would throw food in there, soup cans and whatever, to feed them. And they knew if they were to throw the food in, they would be running to go and get the food, and then following that, they would throw grenades. Like, first off, these days, are you throwing a soup can? Huh? Do you know how much soup costs, you bozo? Huh? Do you know how much soup costs? Secondly, I would love to see you try and get your hands on a grenade in this nation. You can barely purchase a Nerf gun without requiring a license. All right? I don't even think you could go into a paintball shop at this moment in time and get one of those paint grenades that they would use in the fake warfare on a paintball field. So what are you going to do? What are you going to make your own little bomb and throw it over at the Americans? You understand that they can put a Gatling gun on a Humvee and it's perfectly legal in some states? Do you know that? Oh, and what we're going to get in, we're going to get into a food fight. We're going to get into a food fight down at St. Joseph's Composite High School. Like I remember 30 years ago, I pegged Gerald in the head with a fucking Jell-O cup. You better watch out. I got quite a right hand on me. Can throw some stink on that old thing. I'll put a little mustard on the old pudding cup, and that might drop a yank. But this is interesting. So that's what we're talking about. That's the type of weaponry that people are bragging. We're going to throw soup cans at the Americans. Meanwhile, this is out of Kelowna, British Columbia, which I'm heading to June 6th and 7th. Tickets available at dangercatshop.com. Kelowna teens are arming themselves to such a worrisome degree that the RCMP plan to take special action. Bear spray, brass knuckles, and fake guns are increasingly being carried around town by youth, particularly around Orchard Park in downtown Kelowna, city councillors heard Monday. As part of its response, the police plan to double its dedicated youth focus squad from 2 to 4 members. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's fucking... We did it. We did it. Oh, this is good. We are seeing a number of youths carrying weapons such as bear spray, brass knuckles, and most recently, imitation firearms, Goebel said. Oh, Goebel? Where does that fucking... That's not a name you particularly want to hear when it comes to propaganda, now is it? Which makes our intervention even more critical. Police have worked with local school district to identify particularly troublesome youth and engage with support and prevention programs. But police are also committed to recommending criminal charges where circumstances warrant, he said. Kelowna's Crime Severity Index, a measure that focuses only on serious crimes, is down 7%. Okay, so serious crimes, what is that? Between 2022 and last year, total property offenses dropped 17%. Auto theft was down 35%, break-ins were down 55%, and reported bike theft down 49%. Ooh, that must be interesting. Must have had a hot batch hit town, eh? Must have had a nice hot batch hit the streets out there in Kelowna to really snuff out some of those problems that you're having. The reductions were due to an increase in police staffing. Yeah, I doubt that. As well as special enforcement measures such as targeting high crime locations and focusing on catching repeat offenders so that way they can be released within 12 minutes. So far, crime rates are below those expected in 2022 by Brentland. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. So that's the problem. So now kids are arming themselves. Kids are more armed than the Canadian military is right now with bear spray and brass knuckles. So they're more prepared for a war than these fat retards on TikTok that are flashing around a soup can that they're going to suck back without even fucking putting any water in it. No, no heat, no nothing, just cream of mushroom, just a fucking, they open up their mouth and it's like, looks like a cartoon. You know, in the cartoon, the character can just like, looks like a snake ingesting a deer, and an anaconda just ingests a deer. That's these piglets taking down a can of mushroom soup. Disgusting. You shouldn't trust these people. They're up to no good. Other than that, folks, the kids, and why are they arming themselves? Is there problems going on? Are kids being attacked while trying to enjoy themselves out in public? Or maybe the youth? Are the youth getting their toes wet in a little bit of criminal activity because they know that the criminal code of Canada won't punish them as hard? Or are we looking at a bigger problem here? Nobody really wants to talk about the true problem. We love to report on the surface level shit, so that way we have something to talk about in a coffee shop. But thank God these kids, you want to know what I think they're up to? I think they're gearing up for a war with the Americans. They're doing more for this country than the rest of you jackoffs that walk into some fucking liquor store and be like, oh, there's a Made in Canada sign on this one. We better get this craft beer. Burp, burp. These kids are ready for war. They're ready for action. Some guy probably wearing a fucking American hat is going to catch some hands this summer, because we know the Yanks that they like to come up to Kelowna and travel through the area. It's a beautiful part of the country. So I imagine that a few Yanks want to come up and see Kelowna, and then I say, good luck. Our kids got bear spray and some brass knuckles. They're going to mace you and beat you to a pulp and steal your American money, because it's worth way more than ours right now. So I would suggest that you convert it to Canadian the moment you get over here, because it will be a bloodbath for $1 American. That's basically a Bitcoin in our eyes right now. You bring a Yankee dollar around here, oh boy, that's about $1.70. I don't even know what the dollar's at. I know it's close to 65 cents the last I looked, and it ain't going great. So you bring some Yankee money up here, you're getting robbed. Hell, I'll rob you with the kids. I'm in the mix. I have myself 3 cans of bear spray, and I got one of those. I got one of those fucking brass knuckle dildos. So if you can't see, good luck. Your hoop is mine. The kids go for the wallet, and I go for the peach ring. So that way you remember your experience in Canada. I got robbed and anally raped with what I believe was a broomstick handle. No, dildo. I'm very ethical. Some lunatic was running around with a group of kids shoving dildos up American fucking tourists' asses. They called them the assin. It was low-hanging fruit, which would be me if I hung myself. Oh my God. Anyways, folks, we applaud you for tuning in. Prepare yourself. Get ready for the war. Buy soup cans. It's coming to your, and God forbid, don't you dare buy American soup cans. You buy Canadian soup cans and get ready for the war. Go out and get some bear mace. The kids are getting the bear mace. The kids are getting the fucking brass knuckles. You need the brass knuckles. You need the fake guns. You got to scare off the criminals and the Americans just in case they decide to invade. You got to have soup cans ready. You got to throw soup cans at the Yankees like it's the War of 1812 all over again. We're going to march down there. We're going to try and strike a match. They thought that those Capitol riots, a bunch of fags running through there trying to steal, taking shits on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Wait till Gerald from Toronto lugs his fat ass down to Washington, D.C. with a fucking matchstick. Good night, Jim Kite. Tickets available, dangercatshop.com, and we will see you next week. Patreon.com/dangercat69. Become a member today. Get this episode earlier than everybody else. And it's a great way to support the podcast. Extra episode waiting for you right now. Good night.